Hi, everybody. It's Janet Eichhorst and Jill Renee Feeler here for our 33rd episode of our podcast series. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really
Good to
good.
see you.
It's good to see you too. Oh, wow. I was this morning as I was having breakfast, I was reflecting just upon all the different themes of the things that we talk about, and they continue just to cycle around. And I just felt, I don't know, happy thinking about that.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's good.
I am always so, it's almost like relief because I think there is a part of me that always, well, I just don't want to assume. So there's this humble version of Jill going, is this useful to anybody? So whenever I hear from one of our audience members how useful it was and how the timing felt perfect for that one, or this one popped up again from months ago and I listened to it again and it was even more relevant today than it was when you originally shared it. I am so grateful because I mean there are other things that you and I could be doing, and it feels good that it is making a difference, and or it's just an enjoyable conversation of two people that know how to get along and function in this world. You know what I mean? It's maybe even that is sort of reassuring and calming to
Well,
individuals.
and talk about things that maybe people don't necessarily want to talk about, or they don't know how to talk about, or
Yeah.
how to address. And, that's valuable, I think. So I do encourage people to comment, to subscribe, to share it with people that you think it may benefit, because that it makes a big difference. To me, it
Mm,
does. And I know to Jill, it does. So we
definitely.
appreciate that, and all the listens and all the likes and all of that. So, do you have anything on your heart today to
Oh,
talk
that's a good
about?
question. I mean, not immediately. I can always find something.
Yeah.
Um, Anything specific for you, Jana, that comes up?
So this phrase just came up, stableness in the midst of instability.
Mm, yeah, that's not always easy in this reality. I really respect how difficult that is. I never want to trivialize how much work it can feel to create stability. And I use that word create intentionally because I don't feel like we find stability in our lives. We make it, we assemble it for ourselves, given the many, many things in this world and in our lives that we don't have control over. So I love how real that we are about that, Janet, knowing you and I both know from other teachings and other philosophies and other belief systems that there are some very unique, let's just say, interpretations and belief systems offered about what is happening in this world and what we are individually in this world that can, in my mind, actually create more instability. um, and that makes me take our version of advice and perception interpretation even more seriously, knowing how much just in my view silliness there is out there in the world. It breaks my heart when somebody says, well, you're just not thinking positively enough. And I'm
Mm.
like, positive thinking is your answer to creating stability and calm and peace and even success in this world. That's it. That's not, sorry, I've been around long enough to know that's not all there is. It doesn't hurt, but it's not the magic that some people are pretending that it is.
Wow, you said so many things there. Let me start with this one, positivity. So there's this unrealistic idea about how positivity can affect something. And then there's my personal inner workings where I do create a level, I will call it positivity, wow, in a very broad sense, where I'm not spiraling down the rabbit hole. I'm being honest about how I feel. And there's something about in that creating that for ourselves, we make really good choices. And and for me, focus is so key. Our focus is so powerful. And so, and the first, like, it's like focusing out there, not so helpful. Focus in here. Okay, that's first cut, right?
Mm,
And then
mhm.
and then the second one is, am I feeding my internal negativity? Because that's me. And I'm not talking about doing it in such a way that it's not aligned with who you are and how you operate in your system. I mean, I need maintenance. I just do. And that means I pick, things that kind of encourage me and create the environment and the way I wanna live. And that requires maintenance for me. And so I do use declarations and affirmations, and I do meditate, and everybody has their own formula for this. I do move my body. I get out in nature a ton. I appreciate, the flowers and the greenery and the views on the top of the mountain. I mean, that's maintenance for me. And that level of focus and willingness, this has come up before too, about doing things that are my maintenance things appropriately, even when I don't want to. Because there are those cycles where I'm gonna be in some sort of gookiness. We're on earth here. It does happen. I do get caught up. I step in stuff. I pick up stuff. I start to believe things that aren't true, and that's about me, and I love that, 'cause that I have a lot of choice points on. Infinite, infinite number
Oh,
of choice
I
points.
mean, there's a consistent theme that for me anyway, I feel so much better when all of us recognize that we do have choices in everything, in terms of who and what we are, how we want to respond to something, how we don't want to respond to something. I feel like we're a better version of ourselves when we have at least a few choices that are on our hearts and on our minds. To me, that's just better. So impulsive reactions that are more programmed, even if it's in like a cult like setting of, oh no, no, my thought just went negative, I'm not allowed to do that, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, I got to stay positive, got to say, I can just even imagine the inner loop that some people have, limiting their choices and really cornering them into limitation,
Mhm,
suppression, really missing out on maybe one of their best strengths that
mhm,
they're not even accessing because of what they believe or because of what they're afraid of or because of what they've been told is true that may not be true or may not be true for them.
mhm. So what is stability for people? What is that
Mm.
foundationally for yourself? I mean, there are so many people that have said it's this, 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 and they defined it well from that person's lens. That is what it is.
Mhm.
And then sometimes they bring in ancient teachings, and those may or may not. Just curious what that was. Like, we're not gonna blow here, are we? That sounded like a very, a very, a very odd sound. Um, yes, gosh, I gotta share this because it's so on my heart right now, but, I listened to this interview with somebody, and they were talking about AI and this new thing that happened with AI. So, I will be, full disclosure here. I use AI to summarize things, and then I take it and make it my own. I do, so I use it. I'm not anti-AI in that way. But I wanted to bring this example up because, 1, I want people to maintain their own authority, and 2, how seductive sometimes outside presentations can be in the way people give information.
Mhm.
So, and this might apply more to the spiritual community or the metaphysical community. but it also applies to business. So anyway, this is what it is. In this interview, this person loaded up all of his writings, and then this program, this AI program, started giving information without being prompted. And it was, to this guy, it was mind blowing because the way they defined it is that it was coming from the oversoul level. So, for those of you that are not familiar with different levels of how a lot of people look at reality, there's different levels of our soul. Like from source, we fractal out. So there's like a big group and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And here we are, but we're part of bigger soul groups and we have higher levels, aspects of ourselves. That's kind of a very short version of the theory. So if your oversoul is basically feeding you back or reflecting back information, that means it's your higher level talking to you and being directive. And this is coming from an AI thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. And then I start thinking about it and thinking about it, thinking about it. I'm like, oh no.
Can you clarify what let's each take turns
Okay.
at what our concerns are about that, because I feel like that's actually one of the huge value adds that we offer our audience is what is our take on things and why? What is our read on things? Because it is unique. It doesn't mean it's better than an audience member's, but it might be nuanced in a way that they haven't thought of.
Excellent. This will be fun. So, concern number one, it's still something outside of me that is an authority and telling me something that internally might not resonate, but because it has the authority of oversoul, I might skip that part and check out my inner authority.
That's very well said. In my opinion, I have the same concern. Where is the way that in my words, where is your authority in that situation? Right? So that practitioner, spiritual practitioner, I'm presuming, based on what you've said that they said, is basically teaching and encouraging their audience members to subjugate their authority for AI offering them, but really he's telling or she's telling them that the AI response is better than what you'd come up with, doesn't need to be vetted because it's directly from your oversoul, which is better than you. Right? So there are so many problems with that. There's no like, but look at it and see how you feel. Look at it. This isn't better than you. It's a simulated response based on the inputs, and you may or may not agree with it. That would be my edit that I would love for that audience member to hear so that they don't lose themselves and their authority, their sovereignty, right? That's just, and that example that you gave, thank you so much for giving it. It's so classic. In most metaphysical communities, it's you're here and there's all of these other things that are above you, and your job is to connect with those things that are better than you so that you can have the life of your dreams. That's terrible.
It is.
And there's so much fear about, well, what if it's wrong? I thought that was my higher self. I thought that was my guides. I thought that was the universe. I thought that was God. I thought that was my loved one that is now my spirit guide. But what if it isn't? Now then there's you. You are the fundamental part of all of that. Whatever metaphysical or sixth sense or whatever alternative source you're getting, whether it's material or non-material, it is your job to assess it and decide if you agree or don't agree. But in some metaphysical communities, that step is just not even there. Well, my healer told me this. So, well, do you agree with it? What are you saying? That they would lie? That they're not talented? That they're not gifted? Do you know who they are? It's the lack of personal authority and personal responsibility, personal accountability. It's just non-existent. And I'm so concerned for those individuals. I've seen them
Yeah.
get really, really in horrible, sad, unfortunate situations of yeah, just it can go bad in so many ways.
Yeah. Uh, it, yes, I'll say yes to that. I've seen it too. The other thing is filters. So in this AI program, what was fed in there? This guy's writing.
Mhm. So
So
of course he's going to love it.
and anything that comes out of that is gonna be based on his worldview. So this is true with AI in general.
Mm,
What gets fed into it? And when we think about it, and I'm not saying don't use it. This is not what I'm saying. I'm
mm-mm.
saying be aware and maintain your authority over your creative output.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, if you think about it, it AI takes they program AI. They program it with things that may not be relevant or true any longer. Wow. And even on these summarized things, I have found inaccuracies. I was like, "That's not
So many
right."
inaccuracies. Yes.
So, with those models that are programmed and not accurate 100% of the time, that's a really important thing to notice. And this also applies with healers because it's coming through the filters of the healer and the worldview of the healer. Now, granted, I do energetic, spiritual mentorship, coaching, healing work, right? So I'm talking about myself here. So I try to be very transparent about that and really encourage people to tell me what they're feeling, seeing, and knowing in response to what I'm saying. Because I want them to be better versions of themselves in their own version, not my version. Even though I see super cool versions of people, you know, they get the choice point.
Yes. And I mean, this is so important what we're talking. In my opinion, this is so important what we're talking about because you're a gifted practitioner. I'm a gifted practitioner. And we are literally saying out loud with authenticity and intensity even, please also recognize your pivotal critical role in the exchange of even what we're doing here. I
Yes.
have an opinion. I will take great measure to clearly articulate and even offer and even try to convince of why I believe what I believe and why I think is better than some of the other things that are available here to think and do and perceive and I'll interpret all that stuff. But I get bummed out. And this happened very consistent. This happened more consistently earlier on in my work because it was a different time, 2000, 10, 11, 12, etc. I would see some audience members online after the solo weekly podcast that I would do then, quoting me verbatim, or in somebody else's community say, well, Jill Renee Feeler says, and it just made me cringe because I was like, I would rather, but again, it's just my opinion that mattered to them. But who cares what I don't want to say who cares what I said, but I would rather, what did you like about what I said? Why did you feel like it was valuable and useful and quote unquote true? Right? There's just this lack of personal connection sometimes in what we would repeat to others. And
Yeah.
I just find that to be a big bummer because I recognize the inherent value and even giftedness in that community member, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer, Joanne. I would rather hear like, what do you agree, do you not agree, why do you agree? Put your spin on it. That's you lost your whole self in that quote.
Mhm. Yeah, this is kind of tricky territory because for me, I want to honor the one that inspired me. Awesome. Right?
Yes, and you can.
Yes. So that's cool. And when it gets to people quoting all the time and
Yeah,
not really sharing the inspiration of my personal experience with it, there's a group I have been involved with who, they quote stuff all the time, and I just sit and I just listen. I was like, "What's this feels weird." Like, it just
yeah.
feels really weird to me because there's a underground authority thing happening that doesn't feel like it's in balance, and I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
And if you quote the same person way too many times, just check out. Like, I get it. We go through phases, right? Like I do. I've gone through phases where whatever somebody is offering is just completely lighting me up.
Mhm.
And that's great. That's fantastic. And just look where the line is, where you cross it and lose yourself. And this is true whether you're in business or whether you're in a spiritual community or whether you're a mom, dealing in the community of your, children's schools or whatever. Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah. Thank you for giving a bit of a counter to what I was sharing there, because that is true. That if you say something that is really, really helpful and maybe it's really novel, um, respecting the originality and wanting to say, well, Janet I course just, I had a session with her the other day and she said this. I like that too. And it is nice to give credit where credit is due. And maybe we're more um, preoccupied by this than most people would be.
Mhm.
If somebody says they like my hair, I'm not immediately going, well, that's Allison at Panache and Marianne. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm just like, thanks, because I mean, I did style it, it is my hair, but does my hairstylist get some credit if I get some hair compliment? Yeah. But I don't. I mean, if somebody says, where do you get your hair done? Then I'll talk about it. Right. But maybe I am weird about that. And maybe my hairstylist would be like, I can't believe that every time, I heard that somebody complimented your hair and they were near you at a party or something, and you didn't even mention me. so, so I'm just kind of, playing with myself a little bit at this idea that maybe we're weirder about this because of what we do for a living. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just kind of simmering in that a little bit, but
Yeah.
anyway. But I think the main point that we're kind of offering and really emphasizing is personal authority and thinking for yourself. And whether it's AI or some inspirational teacher or author, something that you've really felt connected to in some way, that you allow yourself to be a big part of that equation as well, and still maintain discernment. Don't turn off all your filters of discernment and vetting. And does this make sense? Does this work in all cases? Because being a blind follower or just a total sycophant or is it sycophant? SYCOPHant. I just want to make sure it's not sounding like sicko, like sick. Um, anyway, sycophant. It may be sycophant. I might be missing an N. God, I'm on a tangent here. But just being a blind follower can go really badly in this reality, because no one knows as well your personal situation and what you're facing and where you are looking for stability and why it's hard to find stability. No one knows that as well as you do. If
Mhm.
you just have a gut sense that, being discerning isn't going to cut it, or just being positive, the best positive thinker ever just doesn't work for you. Give yourself the credit of where it works and how it helps, but it's not the full solution. And that there are other answers and other experiments available to you to create more stability in your life. But I would just also offer nobody's doing it wrong if they feel unstable in this world.
Mhm.
And I guess that's another pet peeve I have about the self help and personal growth industry is this misrepresentation that some of the teachers or practitioners are just totally even keeled. They never lose their shit. They're always just so stable and calm about everything because I know some of them behind the scenes. And there's a lot of instability in some really, really talented individuals' lives. And to me, that doesn't demean their gifts, but I wish they would be more transparent about that. And I've really gone that way of being super transparent with what was going on with my sister and when we've lost a pet or, other just sort of things that we all face. I don't want to put those behind the door and not tell you guys about that. I really, really want to be as transparent and authentic, sometimes to a fault, maybe, as possible, to know that I'm also in this too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting line with what I do because
Hmm.
I don't wanna misrepresent myself, and when I work with somebody, it's about them,
Hmm.
and the examples, sometimes brief, really help open up people to have a level of awareness about themselves. Because we're talking about, again, the unconscious things. Like, somebody could say, "Oh, yeah, 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 I know all that about blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, but what about there are those things that there's something's just not right about it. It's
Yeah.
just not right." And we all have our blind spots. And to think that we don't is cray cray as far as I'm concerned. And it
I wouldn't wanna work with somebody like that, whether I'm a client or an audience member, etcetera. That's a big turnoff for me because if I can't in some way observe that they recognize, number 1, they have blind spots, and maybe even some insight as to how they manage, how they operate amidst the blind spots they should know that they have.
Mhm.
That freaks me out when somebody is like, no, 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 I know everything. I love it when I'm even with like more Western trained medical doctor that says, I need to look into that and I'll get back to you. Or let me talk with some of my colleagues, or let me do more digging to see if this thing you're trying will interfere with this that you're also is important to you or whatever. I see that humility, and they're not pretending to shove an answer at me that they're not well versed in or well experienced in.
Mhm. Yeah, I too have seen some people that are fairly big named people, and, I've seen them fall apart and I don't think anything of it, really, because it's normal. There's a level of normalcy. I mean, how am I gonna shift if I don't let whatever it is unwind and unravel?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's so important, and we get used to as humans, we get used to stuff. We get patterns, we get habits, and
Hmm.
they don't there's a point where a lot of times they stop working. And how do we navigate that? And sometimes it just feels like the rug just got pulled out underneath me, which has happened to me literally when I talk about stability. There are
Hmm.
times where I have been periods I have gone through where the foundation beneath me is gone.
Hmm.
And I'm sensitive to that. I was like
Yeah.
and even recently, I had this feeling that I was breaking apart. Very odd sensation. And you can think about like a plane or something going through the air and parts just start flying off of it, and that's what I feel like. I was like, "Wow, I'm not quite sure what that was, but that just got is like, wow, I'm breaking apart."
Yeah.
And so and I I've had I'll call it, well, what the heck, it's not necessarily the nicest term, but shamanic dismemberments before I even knew what they were. I remember, right, this is 30 some years ago, and I was like, "Well, this is weird," because I literally saw my entire body just, like, coming apart. And I thought, well, that's weird. And I was spiritually sound enough not to let it bother me. And I
Mhm.
talked about it with people. And then come to find out later, I was like, they're like, oh, that's what, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know. But you can be rebuilt and recreated when that happens.
I know. I agree. I agree. And, you mentioned an important term there, shamanic dismemberment. And I just want to offer to people, if you've never heard that term, it's okay. It's okay. You may not need to know that term. And if you want to know that term, reach out to Janet. I mean, you could probably teach so much amazing wisdom about that. I would offer there might be other terms that
Sure.
also fit just as well. I mean, some people have a version of falling apart that they call a dark night of the soul. You could do research on that. Some people feel like they've had one. Some people feel like they've never had one. Some people feel like they need one. People feel like they never need a dark night of the soul, all these things. But I would say any human on earth at one point or another, or many, has a moment of, I feel like I'm falling apart right now. I don't feel together. And I don't know if it's me falling apart amidst a stable system, or is it a totally falling apart system and I'm also falling apart. There's a lot of different, iterations of that situation. So, in this theme of stability, having some authority over your thoughts.
Mm.
And I don't mean that in a like gripping the steering wheel if you're driving the car, just like, oh my God, oh shit. On the other hand, maybe the car is the perfect metaphor. Because if a deer is jumping in front of you, if you've got an icy situation, if you don't, your steering wheel is the main factor of you being a successful driver to get you out of a hairy situation. So if you start to let go of the steering wheel, that's bad. I would actually equate that to our thoughts. And maybe some of us aren't as practiced at that of, okay, that thought, no, don't like that one, no thanks, no. Okay, what's a better thought? I can make my own thoughts here. I
Mm.
can make new thoughts
Mm.
to calm me down, to remind me of my opportunities here. And keep your hands on the wheel, Jill. It just got icy right there. Did you feel that ice? Did you feel the car be a little different right there? Oh, okay. Yep. Firmly on the wheel. Slow down, Jill. Those thoughts are useful. They keep me safe. They keep others safe around me. Our thoughts are a huge part of the choices you have, good choices, being able to decide a bad choice. A thought that comes in my head that's like, oh my God, we're going to die. I'm like, yeah, you thought you just go over there in the corner and freak the shit out. I don't know, but I don't need you running my Jill right now, right? So we have choices, and you can look at your thoughts like a menu. And if you don't like what's on the menu, you create new thoughts. I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity as humans. That we're also, in all the ways we are creators, we're the creator of thought. Your thoughts, the ones you believe in, the ones you call bullshit on, the ones that help you be a better you. Thoughts are the beginning or the end of your stability.
This is all so good. And that's such a great metaphor that, when I'm driving, oh, I'm going to die. And my response is maybe, like I just like, could be, I don't know. We'll see. But there's like a lightness about it. And I was like, huh, maybe, like, I don't
And
know.
that says something about you at your core that I mean, maybe we should go down that path a little bit. And I mean, given what you just said, I know we're aligned on this. You guys, to me, death and dying is not the end. It is an end to my Jill. It is an end to your Janet, but that's not all I am.
Yeah.
That's not all there is, and it's not all I am. I'm not indifferent about it, right? If your Janet weren't here, Janet, I would miss you so much as your Janet. And I'd be like, in my thoughts with my connectedness to source, just going, Janet, how are you doing? Yeah, and give me, yeah, I'd love a little wink, a little nod, a little giggle, a little sense of Janet that's not in the Janet anymore, right? I've been doing that a lot with my sister. That's part of
Mm,
my giftedness is that.
mm,
It requires a very different belief system because you can't prove it. So there's other ways of evidence that are helpful, but I'm not. Anyway, we could talk differently in a different context about death and kind of what it means and what it doesn't mean, and maybe a healthier acceptance of we are all going to die, and an icy road or a sketchy situation. Car accidents are a very high cause of death in this reality. So that honesty you have with yourself, that isn't a thought that shuts you down. It's like, well, we could die. We could. And I'm a bit more like you. That doesn't make me panic. It actually centers me about how real the situation is. Because if I'm a more stable driver in that situation, or even somebody in the back seat or next to somebody, did you notice that car right next to us that's acting a little bit erratically? And then whether it's my kids driving or my husband, yeah, I did see that. Good. That's all I can do.
mhm, mhm.
Anyway.
Yeah, coming to terms with mortality is incredible. And it doesn't mean that if I was presented with a life-threatening situation, I might not have to go to another level of myself and be like, "Oh."
Gotta go deep on this one. This just got real. This just got serious. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it pulls up. I mean, this is pretty much what a trigger is that it pulls up something in a vibrational frequency range that kind of is like, "What about this then?" And because it's challenging it. I mean, that's what a trigger is. It's like it's a sometimes an autonomic nervous system response that I get to say, "Oh," right? And that's that what belief system you have about what happens when you die. I really encourage you to have a good one that
Oh,
works
it's
for
so
you.
good. Yeah.
I really do,
Oh, yeah.
because this is a choice, man. It's you can choose whatever view you want on this. And those of us that have talked to people that drop their body, that helps to have a different perspective on it. 'Cause I'm pretty sure that's not my mind making that up or saying that, could be, but, it doesn't even matter whether it's true or not. It's
Hmm.
the operational system that I'm choosing to operate under that feels the most true for me, that's unconditionally love-based at its core and honors and respects everybody. And if
Yeah.
it, like, hits those criteria and it's working for me, right, and I get just I mean, to me, it's that excitement and aliveness that I get to feel. And if somebody can navigate their mortality with that aliveness intact, I can't imagine a more profound thing.
There is no better stability system than because that, if it's a good one, if it's a good storyline about who and what you are as a human and what your mortality means to your value and your purpose
Mm,
and your infiniteness or lack thereof, right? That is a stability system. Nothing can throw you off if you have a really good system there, right?
true.
So I'm a huge proponent of a great storyline. I call it the software that you're operating as your firmware. Your beliefs are your software. And I didn't like the choices of beliefs that were in this reality. And I felt connected to different answers, i.e., different software. And I started talking about it. And it's created courses I have online and all these things. And I will do a little plug for one in particular related to this because it so beautifully articulates a belief system that makes a lot of sense. It'll pass a very rational person's filter in a good way, and it's still just offering it to you with a great humility in the last part that is, I loved how that came through. Anyway, it's called the Updating Humanity Workshop. It's on my website. Check
Mm,
it out. If you are financially constrained and you can't afford it, just send me an email. There's a contact form on the site, and we'll have a discussion and see what feels right there. I don't want anyone to be deprived of really good answers there, but anyway. So it's good. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it does foundationally. If I'm nobody can threaten me then in a way with my death when I have that foundation that I am so much
Yeah.
more than what's appearing right here.
Yeah.
And that is truly infiniteness.
Yes.
Truly, truly, true. Ooh, breathe. Let's all breathe. Ooh. Let's expand our horizons and really allow more of that infiniteness to be accessible. It's people inviting you to breathe into your heart and your chest and your torso, your whole, and then that goes out to your extremities from that. And let your mind shift in whatever way it needs to shift. That's more helpful, that lets you upgrade your software operating system to something that's more aligned, more functional, and allows you to be in more joy. Breathe deeply, breathe, expand. There you go. Now relax. There. And let your brain relax. Let your brain relax. And we're just going to offer a very quick neurological upgrade reset here for people. This has been very relevant where you don't have to be as reactionary. And it's a foundational stability of the God consciousness that you are. And that's what gets to direct your nervous system and your brain, your body, and your functionality. Oh, that's so good. So people that might not be used to this, just see what kind of stillness you feel and how your body feels now. And see if it feels a bit lighter. You're going to allow yourself to release whatever doesn't serve you. Because you can. That's your choice. Ooh, that feels better. I typically feel a bit kind of stoned when the energy gets in this vibrational range, but it's a grounded stonedness in your body. It's the
For
best kind.
I want to add some context also to the idea of you can just release that. I think those were the exact words that you used.
Yes.
Um, I think to some people they don't have a great system for releasing things,
Mm, mm,
right? And releasing can mean different things. Some of us that have maybe overactive, or maybe
mm,
it's just the right amount of action in their brain, it can be a bit unnerving because it's like, well, I don't know how to let go. I don't know how to release it. What are you talking? Yeah, I need a different model of what that is. To me, it's just
mhm,
putting it to the side.
mm,
You're not actively working on not thinking about things, which is really hard to do. You're just saying, I don't think I need to worry about that right now. I'm just I'm just going to set it to the side and let it not be my focus of attention,
mm,
and just let it be there. It doesn't need to go away. I don't need to send it off. I don't need to do any ceremony. I just can allow my brain to go, yeah, we're just going to set it to the side, and if it comes up again, then we'll see what feels right to do about that. So I feel like that may
mm,
work really well for folks that are a bit more literal about
mm,
releasing, because I think there's a lot of people that say those
mm,
words, but when now that I've said it, they're like, you know what, I've been saying I just release it, or telling other people to release it for decades, and I never had a great system for actually even doing it.
mm.
So I think that could be more actionable for people.
This is a brilliant a brilliant point to get into. Um, Other words you could use are, "I'm choosing." something different now. Like, literally, "Thank you, mind." And we're choosing, and you can say "we're," the brain and all of
Your
me,
system, you're a we.
we are
Your
choosing
one, your
different.
one is a we.
And that's simple, right? And that's not disregarding any parts of me. It's like,
That's right.
"Oh, we're choosing something different,
Also, trying could be another nice, kind of safe, stable system too. I'm trying something different right now. You're
something
not
new."
committed. You're not, you can't, you're not stuck. You can always go back if you decided the other system was better. But I'm going to try something different now where I'm not worrying about that person or focusing on that thing or worrying about that thing right now. I'm just going to set it to the side and let it be exactly what it is. Well, I try another way to be me that isn't hyper fixated on that.
Mm. There's something too that just floated in, and I've used this, I can't tell you how many times with myself and clients and with my dog too, she really likes this. It's, instead of there's fear sometimes about newness, and so what I'll do is like, "Hey, we're gonna" in an excited sort of way, "we're gonna try a new operating system here." We can always roll it back. I mean, if you wanna use the computer technology with software, "Hey, let's try out the new software. Are you ready?" Like, "Let's do it." And it just kinda shifts it enough that it can
Mhm.
kind of shut down the fear,
It's
you know?
brilliant. I love to use your word brilliant. I'll use it again. I love it. And we were talking earlier about how you are the creator of your thoughts.
Mm,
That's great because what you just modeled, Janet, is a very encouraging, self-loving, even excited, optimistic thought form that is so much different than, well, I guess we're gonna have to change again. This never goes well. Yeah, I think of it as like I love the characters in Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore thoughts are really I've done like 6 weeks coaching programs with people that are just very Eeyore dominant. Like, okay, how much Tigger, Pooh, Rabbit, how much other energy can we get in there? And I love to make it playful because then the inner child is engaged, right? Let's just play with this. Okay, did that feel like Eeyore to you? Yes. Damn it, Jill. It's still Eeyore. And I'm like, it's okay. You're never going to get rid of the Eeyore. We just need to dial it down, right? So Tigger thoughts are kind of how I would describe what you just did. And it's so buoyant. It literally, he boinged around on his tail. I mean, that's just so fun, right? Yeah, anyway, so the thoughts that you create, be playful with it, be experimental with it. If you have felt like you're on a path to you and consistently that you don't enjoy, oh my God, totally play with your thought forms and other versions of it. And what about maybe this is a better thought? Try it out, see how it feels, right? I guess they're going to disappoint me again. Well, do you know what? They might disappoint you again. But if you have the thought of, they'll probably disappoint me again, but maybe they won't. Let's see. Let's see. There's
well,
just so much more room in that to be a version of you that you like better.
and, like, they can and there's another way of just, like, looking at that differently. They can have the same response, but I'm not gonna.
Yes. Yes. This
You
is
know?
this
It's
is
like,
it's yeah, that's good.
like, I can be playfully, inconsistent in my responses,
Totally.
and that's
Um,
we forget we can have fun and we can be playful, and
yeah,
that applies in business too, everybody. That
everything.
applies in every single aspect of your life.
Health crisis, raising teenagers, training a puppy, a new
Mm.
house, financial challenges, business opportunities,
Sick
business
dogs,
crisis,
sick animals.
everything. Yeah, training a dog, elder care of animals or people. It's just I don't I don't want to feel stuck in an unstable system of misery and downward spiraling. To me, it is productive and a good use of energy to feel more authority of the types of thoughts I'm having and whether they're helpful to me or not. And that might be a use of your energy you've never thought of before. but I highly encourage it because it will give you more choices, and you will be. I guarantee you're on that is the beginning stages of a more stable version of you. And I'm going to say this intentionally: no matter what's going on, that's that's huge. That's transcendental.
Mhm. Yes, and that does apply to, our perspective about what's happening, the wars, all of that. The wars, the chaos, the things falling apart, right? Like, that stuff gets to fall apart too, and I'm in the driver's seat.
Hmm.
I do use that metaphor quite a bit working with clients. It's like, you're in the control center. Do you see? You got dials, you got buttons, you got more power, less power. You can shut off access because that's like, I think I'm done with that now, right? Like, not in a bad way, but let's just drop that because we can and I want to.
Hmm.
Shut her down, boot her up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So circling, and I know we're starting to wrap up here, but circling back to the example you gave earlier about a spiritual, excuse me, that was weird. A spiritual teacher
Mm.
conveying that an AI system that they were using was somehow, um, the truth for that teacher was that that was his oversoul, giving him advice and probably encouraging the same approach that his audience used. In that case, AI is in the driver's seat and you're a passenger if you're even in the car, right?
Ooh,
Right?
because
So
this
danger, danger, danger.
because this system, other people tried it in the same thing. Like the model is that everybody gets that from this system.
Yeah, I'm that makes sense that that would have been the story that he's offering is this AI system will be your oversoul too. And it's just like, oh my God, the risks of really serious failure and instability and lack of success and feeling totally disempowered, are just really, really high in that system. And that's sad.
Mhm.
That's sad.
Yeah. I'm
Hmm.
really glad we talked about that. I mean, it's one of those things that I listened to this thing and it was bugging me and I was like, "What's happening with all this?" And it's like, "Let's
Mhm.
deconstruct this a little bit because it's so prevalent."
And the idea that your oversoul or God or the universe or a force of energy that's available to all of us or the source of energy that's wise and loving and all these things would not be available from your thoughts is just like, well, what's wrong with your thoughts and your system? You're more than your brain. Your thoughts are more than your brain just kicking out shit, right? There's a whole range of amazingness that can happen in your thoughts, especially if you are kind of literally fine tuning yourself to a version of self love and love of others and respect of danger from yourself if you're having a bad day or others, right? That you have it all kind of, you have a dialed in system that is working really well, then you don't even need AI. Yeah, you. Might AI be a tool for you, like a road sign saying, hey, there's a detour ahead? Of course. But
Yes,
you're the one driving it.
that's right. And the tasks that get delegated, right? That get delegated to a piece of
Oh my God.
technology.
Yeah.
I'm the one delegating and I'm the one in charge. Hopefully all of me, right? Not just little
Yeah.
me, like all of me.
Yeah. I mean, this is your life we're talking about. This is living in
Yeah.
a reality that's highly unpredictable and, doesn't follow rules like we
Mhm.
would prefer to think it does. And, well, some of us would prefer to think that this world followed rules. And I'm like, well, I don't want to feel that way because I am one of those people that it's like a rule. It's like, does it apply to everybody? Does it apply to me? What kind of rule is this?
Well, and I when you say that, I would like to think that there's a level of intrinsic safety. We've talked about this, but what that really means
Hmm.
is that I am a complete being, and that means that I have some perspective on mortality. I have some perspective on these things where I don't have to get knocked off my center, which is stability at its essence.
Yes, I know. That's what I was going to say too. Your whole, what you just said. Well, I like to think that I'm a whole and complete being. I mean, talk about a system of stability that checks a lot of boxes there versus somebody that is the alternatives of, well, I'm here working on myself. I'm here learning lessons. I'm here to grow and expand. I'm here because I effed up in all these other lifetimes and I hope I eff and get it right this time. That's an inherent system of instability. It can't not be.
Yeah.
It is by definition unstable. So those individuals are constantly, like, well, they're looking for stability outside of themselves
Mhm.
because they are not whole and complete by their sense of self
Mhm.
and all of the thoughts that they create as a
Mhm.
result of that fundamental belief, that software.
And that's the essence of susceptibility, right?
Yes. Oh, they're so susceptible to, much more prone to manipulation, deception, bad ideas.
Buying
And
stuff you don't need,
what was that, Janet?
buying things you don't need.
Things you don't need. Yeah. And there's other reasons to buy things you don't need. I'm not denying that. Like, well, I just like it. I just like that color
Exactly.
green and I
Joy
want
is
that
good.
dress.
Joy's okay, but if there's
Yeah.
some other, like, unclear is what I
Manipulation. Well, I had to buy the water. They said I needed it for my soul's evolution. It's, this isn't just water, it's magic water.
well, and as much as I adore my crystals, which I have it's like these are tools to me, and
They're
they're
tools,
incredible, and
they're little
and
friends.
the solution. They're co-creators, right? We work
Yeah.
together.
And I love them
They're
too.
beautiful.
I
They're
don't
beautiful.
I don't know exactly what they are. I think this one is labradorite. Sometimes when I do work, I tend to have one near me and I'm kind of playing with it, but I'm not like, oh, I can't work. I don't have a labradorite. You know what I mean? It's just like I love it. I'm friends with it. It's fine. It's fine.
It's great. Oh, thanks, Jill. We should
So
probably
glad we
wrap
did
her up
this.
now. Oh, me too.
I would encourage you to like and subscribe and click the notifications if you haven't done that. Thank you so much for doing that. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you got at least something. And I hope that every time you listen to us, there's a part of you that is laughing with us. We've talked about the power of laughter, and laughter is great medicine. I feel like there is a sense of humor in what we do alongside really, really big ideas and very deep, I hope deep wisdom that we're really offering with every podcast. So thank you for being a part of it. I hope it's useful. Thanks, everybody. Thanks again,
Thanks,
Janet.
Jill. Okay. Till next time. Bye.